one of the things that I picked up most on what you're just talking about is because with DAOs, there is an ability to vote, and there's an ability to make a difference or steer the direction of the boat. So I don't know if this is already being happen in the nonprofit or charity work, but if we step back and look at like Susan G. Komen, where I give $100 and like you said, that $100 gone, there's really no recourse. It's just in my head, whatever, it moved on. Now, Susan G. Komen, that organization, and I'm not picking on them, it's just the first thing I thought of. If they squander that money and if I'm paying attention, well, the only recourse is I just don't give them $100 the next month or the next year or the next whatever, next fundraising thing. Now, if there's a DAO and I give $100, it seems like now there could be a mechanism where, hey, there's stakes to that $100 because now I have a vote in do this or do that. And I think there's and maybe this is already happening, but from what I'm hearing is like, if I'm in a charity DAO, I actually have stake. I can make a change more than just here's a check, moving on, and hit it, forget that I ever did it, because I don't have a say. But if I have a say and I can actually make change, it seems like now there could be a more attachment to that donation.
I love that you said that. And the reason why I love that you said that is because one of the biggest issues in giving and charity and philanthropy is creating value with the giving. So like creating people that are just passive donors to stakeholders, active stakeholders, like a shareholder where I actually have a value in the direction and the way this goes.
Because on that, what kills me and blows my mind is some of these charities that have all this marketing budget to make stickers of my name and my address, and they give it to me for free because they're hoping they'll that reciprocity thing. But it's like, how many of those just get thrown away?
Yeah.
You know, really? Who made that decision? Like somebody from 1982?
Well, and that's a good example of like looking at things like within a DAO, you can direct. If you have a governance token, you can direct things for how this organization spends its money. Like how is marketing budgeted? How is fundraising budgeted? And I'm only going to use this as an example because it's very popular within the nonprofit space. A lot of traditional organizations, I'm going to be 100% transparent and honest, they're going to be very scared of becoming a DAO itself because it gets rid of the president, the vice president.
Because when the norm is 88% of your fundraising goes to the organization and the operational costs, and only 10 or 12% actually go to the thing. Yeah. Now you're a full-on company. You're a business.
So they're going to be very scared. But what I will say, because we have a lot of nonprofit clients, is that there are ways to engage your community and to kind of have a hybrid system and a hybrid or a sub-DAO system. And the reason why I say that is maybe eventually you'll never turn yourself into a DAO. I understand that because that's like, you're trying to change the old guard and the new guard, and whether one is right or one is wrong, you just have to kind of work within the confines of what you're doing. So, and what I mean by sub-DAO is for example, this particular project we're working on, it's very specific to just raising the money for this land trust. Just for this one land acquisition. I'm not trying to take over anybody. I'm not trying to say they should be a DAO. I'm just saying, hey, like, this is the way. If you want to know where your money's going, if you want to see it on the blockchain be handed over in its entirety, if you want to make sure that this is all legit and a real thing, then the blockchain is the best way to do it, and that's my belief. But you can have something like a sub-DAO, and I think this is a way for nonprofits to kind of experiment with crypto and have that familiarity other than just fundraising platform, because you have fundraising platforms and they convert and they take a percentage and they help you a little bit. But what I mean that as is having a campaign based around a specific thing within your organization called a sub-DAO, which would be like, hey, we're a world orphan charity. We want to build this one orphanage. but you get to pick out the architect, the design. You get to pick out, how it will look. Heck, if you raise it, if you contribute and the governance votes for it, whatever's left over, you can go visit that location. I think that is a very cool way to integrate. And I know I'm going to get some hate mail from pure Web3 people and decentralized, but we're trying to move the ball forward. We're not trying to get the slam dunk right away. You have to move the ball forward and not just slam dunk. And the only other thing I'll say about that is the example I give is that let's say you have like a gala, because galas are really, really popular within nonprofit organizations. They do raise money, but they spend a lot of money. And
I've tried to plan them, and I'm like, this it makes no sense.
Yeah, and so what you can do is you can create a sub-DAO. You can have a committee, but the thing I love about it is that everybody will have the opportunity to vote on, because everyone's spending, and this is a good example, right? Like everyone's spending the same amount of money. Like everyone's spending $1,000 for a ticket, or $500 or however. So if everyone spends $1,000, shouldn't everyone get a say on, the location, the theme?
Because now we're getting into like the event planning side of things, and like, and you could say on something like that, it's already a nightmare. So when
That's
you
true.
introduce that many cooks into one kitchen, then it's like, excuse me, because I know, hey, you're letting people vote on something, but who's coming up with things to vote on?
So what happens usually is, depending on how you write your smart contracts or how you write the sub-DAO or how you want to structure it, what's amazing is that you can actually create rules that govern. So you will have to, let's say, to create a proposal, you will have to have this many governance tokens, or to create the proposal to move forward even, you would have to have this many people vote, and this many people percentage-wise would have to agree. If it fails, then it actually goes away. So I think what's interesting is that what I will say about voting, and this is just in the nonprofit space. There are way bigger fish.
Yeah,
fish
I wanted
to
to
fry.
get into that.
There's way bigger fish to fry.
To finish, the reason I gave that reaction for a gala ticketed event is like, people have no clue how ridiculous events are. The venues are expensive, the food is expensive, the entertainment's expensive, the AV's expensive, everything's expensive. And to be able to pull off a good event, you have to be able to look at all of that holistically. And I have a free event in 2.5 weeks in Grapevine, and it's people just show up, there's an open bar and there's food. But they don't realize how much work goes into that and how expensive it is. And then it's like, how do you get the sponsors to help pay for this? And it's like, and then you're like, okay, but what do we want this sponsor? Are they blacklisted? Are they okay? So there's all these things. And the more people you introduce on trying to manage that process, from my experience, it's chaos. But that's from having a voice. If it's just a vote, maybe that's a different situation.
Well, I think that's the thing about voting. I love galas, by the way. Like, I'm not going to be against that. I was just using it as an example.
Yeah.
Because I think they do a lot of good to bring awareness, and it's a great thing.
Let's throw a gala.
Yeah. But I was using that as the example because you can have decisions made very quickly because they're within the DAO. I think the interesting aspect we didn't touch on was that a lot of times it's anonymous voting. If you want to be anonymous with your contributions, and you can stay anonymous, and I love that. And the reason why I love that is because, let's take a more serious example. Well, the not so serious example is like, hey, I don't want my neighbor to know that I voted against having the gala at the museum. It's like, but I voted against it because I really didn't like it.
Or you didn't want the theme to be white or purple. You want it to be blue.
Yes, and so, but no one will ever know that you voted that way. So that's the, hey, we're not solving a lot of problems in the world. We're just doing this as like a subset introductory.
That's
value.
How elections should be. You should be required that it's anonymous.
Wait, aren't elections? Don't I go to vote?
No, I mean, but like through a DAO and
Well, I think PACs have an opportunity, but that's a whole nother.
I think you're not. Going down this thought process of insanity. I'm acknowledging it's stupid. Is you shouldn't be allowed to tell everybody who you voted for.
That is so funny. Oh my goodness,
you know.
That is so funny. Well, it's humorous. That's humorous. But what I mean by anonymity in giving is that let's say you are trying to solve a huge problem that would be very negative if people found out who you were, and what I mean by that is let's say, I don't know, pick anything that has risk, like major risk, like I can think of maybe human trafficking. Let's just take that as an example. So let's say you have, because there's some great nonprofits out there that are like trying to do work with human trafficking. It's like, okay, let's say you are like, I'm going to stop human trafficking, and I want to start this organization that helps get people off the street, and and helps put some of these people behind bars, and stuff like that, and that's a good thing. I think everyone can kind of unite against. The issue is that you need anonymity in that instance. And the reason why is like there are actors, very bad actors, that would not want you to be successful in stopping human trafficking. They, crime organizations, whoever has a vested interest in allowing that activity to occur would pretty much not want you to succeed, and because of that, keeping your anonymity, even globally, keeping your anonymity is very, what I mean by that is even being a donor on the far side of the world, keeping your anonymity is very, very important, and I think that's what I like about Web3 is that you're able to do that.
Well, and I think in a larger context, that would be, or a different example would be like, say you're wanting to donate to like Ukraine against Russia, and you're a Russian oligarch, but if you publicly go against Putin, you'll be disappeared.
What's interesting is there is a Ukraine DAO. Yeah, I usually don't plug projects or anything,
right,
but and I'm bringing that up because there is a Ukraine DAO that is trying to fund things on the ground and stuff like. I haven't looked into it directly. I just saw it come across my feed.